It's slow like me.
Hey, listen, I just want to call out one person.
And I hate myself a lot.
But you're getting punched in the dick. There needs to be more Street Shark references. I say who? That's funny as hell.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the Underqualified, the Overcompensated podcast. I am your host with the least most, Rhodes. And today I'm not riding the line of sub-mediocrity. I'm going to try to achieve a level that can only be presented by our current guest that we have. But before we get there, even though you can see him and he's there, I'm holding for suspense.
But before we get there,
because obviously, because if he wasn't on the screen, this would be a very like, ooh, who is it?
Who is it?
He's right there.
But for the audio listeners, you have no clue.
You have no idea.
Oh, yeah.
You're in the dark. Yeah.
Unless you've read the title.
Yeah, no one reads anything.
I put so much work in the nose.
Cohen is on the show, and below him, for the audio viewers, audio listeners, that's how
there it is.
Words work. Yeah,
there it is.
Below him is the always beautiful, the ever-present Rico. He lets you know he's there, and you're okay with it.
Side.
Yeah, he's down here today.
Yeah, I'm Rico. How you doing? You might remember me from such episodes as Uno.
And below him, always holding on to that spot as the power bottom of the show and your heart, Tyler Firth.
I'm holding Spike up right now.
You are the power bottom.
That's what I'm told, Spike.
Bottom. Yeah, we're trying to get him in the bid for the next, Playgirl rankings, but it's a slow movement. We're gonna get him in there. The election's gonna happen.
No, I believe in it.
But ladies and gentlemen, Spike Cohen is on the show. One of our favorite guests that we have had on the show, and a person that we just follow throughout since the last time we've talked to. We haven't talked to you since 2020, I believe, right before the election.
Wow.
Yeah, it's been almost a year.
Was that before the election?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was before the election.
Yep.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, I didn't win.
Oh.
All right, and that's the end of our show.
I don't know if that was why you had me on, or
we got a president this time
on the show.
The vice president of the United States is on the show. No, I came in third, which is
top 3, baby.
Top 3. I made the podium.
You placed better than Shaun White did in this last Olympics, all right?
Yes.
He was 4th.
Yeah.
Also, I would like to point out that out of all the other vice presidential candidates, you were the only one that was elected. You were chosen by the party. You weren't just
yes.
Yeah. Which I was reminded today as I was reading through it on all of your press stuff for the last election. It says elected libertarian vice president, and I was like, that's right. They actually voted within the party for the vice president rather than Joe Biden just being like, diversity pick.
Yes.
What's up? You doing anything?
Yeah. Yeah, no, I actually got, because the way we do it is the Libertarian Party elects the presidential nominee and then the vice presidential nominee. Fun fact, Joe asked them to pick someone else. So not only did I win, but I beat the spread and I beat the top of the ticket. So I'm actually the biggest winner in the Libertarian Party, which isn't much, but it's within the party.
It's true, yes.
I didn't tell people not to vote for her. I didn't tell them to vote for her, but I didn't tell them not to vote for her.
I mean, I think that's good. Because
is it? I don't know what to think after that. I don't know what to think. What was I just told?
Wait, let me rephrase that. I did tell people to vote for her once we had the nomination, in the general.
Well, you weren't going through the 2020 election being like, don't vote
Okay.
I'm not saying don't vote for her. I'm just saying I'm not saying it. I'm leaving that up to you. I'm just
Spike
talk about
Spike got on TV. Spike got on TV and he's like, vote for Joe. And they're like, which one? And he's like, pick one.
I leave that up to you.
And that's where you fucked up, because that's why we got this guy in office.
Didn't specify.
No.
Yeah.
This falls at your feet.
That's too much pressure for any one person.
No, I said vote for Joe, and
Exactly.
whichever Joe you want. And some people are like,
Yeah. You gave them
You
so
could
much
have been.
choice.
You could have either been sitting in Washington D.C. or we could have had 4 more years of like bad Orange Man. All right, this is your fault.
this is all my fault.
Think about that.
Again, making me the biggest winner in the Libertarian Party. So
I love your spin, Spike. God damn it.
It's good.
It's always coming up, Spike.
They always blame the Libertarian candidates anyway for splitting the vote. So either way,
It's
it was
true.
Yes.
It's true.
Oh man, I got to in a 24-hour period because remember, before Joe Biden stole the election, Donald Trump was ahead. On that night, Donald Trump was ahead by like 5 or 6 points or some ridiculous thing, and it looked like he was like winning in a landslide. And I got so much hate messages. You're why Donald Trump's gonna win. You were out here talking about fighting police brutality, and you got all these left-winger votes. And I'm like, I'm pretty sure that's not what happened. And then sure enough, it swung the other way. And all the people that were like, thank you for helping Donald Trump. You're the reason that Joe Biden won. And then all the people that were saying you're the reason that Joe Biden lost are now, thank you so much for, stealing it from Donald Trump. And I'm like, do y'all think we're so is it possible that maybe it didn't matter who voted for us and it actually because the reality is people that aren't the people voting for us aren't thinking, who do I think is most likely to win? Joe Jorgensen, that's who. I would have voted for Donald Trump to beat Joe Biden, but man, that Joe Jorgensen has a real shot at winning. These are people that don't care if the Republican or Democrat wins. So it's not, yes, we covered the spread, but that doesn't mean anything.
Well, and I think that's a big thing when I got the last election when my family's like, oh, who are you going to vote for? I was like, oh, I'm going to vote for Joe Jorgensen. Right. And they're like, oh, you're just going to take the vote. I was like, well, I don't want either one of them to win.
Right.
I was like, but that's not why I'm not voting for Joe because I don't want to be, because of each party. I'm like, I actually believe in what she's running for.
Right.
But I also don't like any of those fucking idiots.
Yes.
So,
and that's, your vote wasn't up for grabs for either one of them. And I've tried explaining that to so many people. I'm like,
I'm voting for a candidate I believe in. I know it's a weird concept.
Yes.
Stop it.
Yeah, I'm sitting at the fucking at a family outing, and they're like, "What are you doing?" I'm like, "Oh, I'm voting for who I believe." And they're like, "No one does that."
Yes. No.
You vote for your party. That's it. Just hit the hit all button.
I don't even have one of those. Fuck off, Grandma.
Step one. That's what I said that to my grandmother all the way to the end. Step one is just accept misery. Whoever wins is going to be terrible. And then from there, you have to decide which of these choices are going to cause the less devastation to me and everything I care about. That's how you really cope. And so that's the coping part. The seething part is getting mad at people who are like, nah, I don't think I'm going to vote for either one of them. I don't care who wins. And then for some reason, that's your fault. I love when Republicans will get angry at me because this time it was their candidate that lost. In 2016, they got mad. It was the Democrats getting mad at us because we stole it from Hillary. This time we stole it from Trump. And I'm like, why aren't you mad at the however many tens of millions of people voted for Joe Biden? You're mad at the 2 million people that voted for us, knowing we weren't going to win, or almost all of them knowing we weren't going to win.
That would have been the swing, 2 million.
That was it, the 2 million. If only they had said, oh, no, Joe's not going to win? Oh, well, then I guess I'm voting for Trump, because that's what would happen.
Yeah, they didn't get mad at how many people that voted for Kanye West and or Mickey Mouse every year.
I was holding out for Kanye.
fourth. He came in fourth in Michigan.
Yeah.
Not on the podium.
And
But he's right next to it.
I am not trying to be offensive, Spike, but holy shit, that was close. That was close. In Michigan? What is happening in Michigan that Kanye West came in fourth? You have two intelligent people running for office, and Kanye West is like, I'm running for president. And Michigan went like...
Well, he was right. Listen, and I said this during the campaign. When people were like, what do you think about Kanye? And I said, well, first of all, who doesn't want every day to be your birthday? It's like... The first person who doesn't want that, raise your hand in this crowd. That's what I thought. That's the first thing. You want to, attack the man, but don't attack his policy because you agree with it.
That's fine.
Anyway, every day, it's your birthday. So I was already sold there. And like I said, I would never really try to tell anyone to vote for Joe. So that's not true. But anyway, so So Michigan was very fun because that's where I was very briefly Donald Trump's running mate on some of the ballots. Yeah, on the ballots that went out to that went out to overseas voters and members of the military that were overseas. Their ballot had Joe Biden and Kamala Harris, Donald Trump and Spike Cohen, and Joe Jorgensen with no running mate. And Mike
Pence wasn't even involved.
Mike Pence, they yeeted
Was
Mike
he
Pence
ever?
from the ballot. He wasn't. No, they were telling the truth. They were telling the truth right there.
I was just going to say.
Irrelevant to all of this.
They showed it to Donald Trump, and he's like, it's fine. Don't reprint it.
No, he got... Well, if he did, then he lied on Twitter because he got very upset. He said...
You're kidding me! Donald Trump lied on Twitter? No!
Yes,
you're bullshitting
he did.
me!
He did. He was very angry. He's like, Spike Cohen is not my running mate. My running mate is Mike Pence. And so that was the time. That might have been when I peaked. I got to quote tweet Donald Trump. I got to quote tweet Donald Trump and say, hey, pal, I'm not happy about it either. So that was my and it was downhill from there. But what's crazy about that
I think he should have owned it. He should have been like, yeah, Spike's my new vice president.
Spike Cohen. Well, I had a ton of people who were like, I voted the shit out of that ticket. And I'm like, well, that's uncomforting, but thank you. I
would vote for that ticket.
Honestly, it would make me feel a lot more comfortable knowing you'd be right there. If you said something real dumb, you'd be like, hey, Donald, shut up.
No. Because then Spike would be the one in office being like, hey, can we do this? And Donald Trump would be like, storm the Capitol. And Spike would be the one being like, holy shit.
No. That's not how you deal with Donald Trump. You get in front of the camera, Donald Trump says whatever the hell he says, and you go, yeah! You're damn right! Then, whatever he says, you're like, absolutely, I think that even stronger than he said. And then, quietly, you go and talk with the policymakers and work out how you're actually going to do it. I mean, he shows
I think that's called a coup.
Bitch, you nailed that.
No, that's a vice presidential hype man.
Yeah, that's exactly what it is.
Hype him up so much that he's like, I nailed that. I'm like, you nailed the hell out of that. And let him go somewhere. And then you sit down and like actually work out the actual what you're really going to do. And then he shows up and he's like, we're going to just, we're banning anyone saying mean things about me. No one will ever say a mean thing about you again. And then he just sits down and you go and like do that. That's how you handle it.
It's true. You take a little laser pointer and you show it on the ground, and he just chases it for a little bit.
Literally. Yep.
While you go and get the actual shit done, and he's just like, I'm gonna catch this laser pointer sooner or later. Yep. I swear to God, this is the trickiest laser pointer.
This is what you could have had, Michigan. You could have had real change in DC. You wanted we could have really drained the swamp, but whatever.
Oh my God, I want to see this movie.
I'll write a treatment. It'll be fine.
I want to see this movie.
That would have been great.
Yeah.
Spike, one of our very first people that jumped on here, our good friend Grant McCready, he said as the unofficial fourth member of UNO, can he get a job in the next administration?
Absolutely. Everyone is getting famous.
Don't even know what you're qualified for.
It doesn't matter. Everyone's getting famous. Yes.
I can't write a resume anyway.
Pete Buttigieg is the Secretary of Transportation. It's fine. Everything is open right now.
At this point, if Spike was to win and you just did take open, like in like that, hey, can I have a job? And it's like, yeah, sure. You probably still would have a better cabinet than most of the cabinet.
Grant, whatever Grant's last name is, already I feel more confident that Grant will be able to do any job he is randomly given than whoever is currently doing that. Like,
pretty much his job works in the army, so
I almost unreservedly believe he will do a better job at anything. That we could just, it could be different every day. Today, you're in charge of politics. Okay?
That's rotating secretary jobs.
But, yeah, that's rotating secretary job, exactly. On a daily basis, so no one ever actually accomplishes anything.
Yeah, every day you come into the Oval Office and everyone rolls a D20 and the number correlates with a big list of jobs. And you're just like,
yes.
Oh, nat 20. Treasury Secretary, let's go spend some money.
Yes. I want it to be like the big Price is Right wheel.
Yes.
Where you have to put your whole body weight into it.
Yeah, you got to put the whole thing into it. And you're like,
the big board of cabinet jobs.
See, I like to envision it as, everybody has a drink.
Yes.
Everybody has a drink, and then they spin on a wiffle ball bat, and whatever job they fall on the floor, that's the one they got.
Oh, I like that too. Yeah.
Oh,
no, that's the
I've
drunk
played
version.
That game
Yeah.
before. Yeah, I've played that game before.
Yes, that job promised. Yes,
this administration sounds a whole lot more fun. I'm down. I'm down for this.
It'll be fun. It'll be fun.
Since
it'll be
talking
dangerous.
about the next administration.
It'll be very dangerous.
I haven't seen anything coming up. You've been vocal. You've been talking about the administration, different things politically. Is there a want to go into the running for an office in the next upcoming years, or are you just kind of playing the field?
Yeah, so I'm not ruling it out, but right now my biggest focus is what I learned from 2019, 2020, and part of 2021, but especially during the campaign, is right now the Libertarian Party is at a point where even though a majority, something like 70, 72, 75% of voters want another party to vote for besides the Republicans and the Democrats, and even though if you poll the general public on most of the main Libertarian Party issues, we get support anywhere from the high 30s all the way up to the 80s, depending on the issue, which is a good spread of support. Well over 90%, probably close to 95% of voters, if they're asked about voting Libertarian or really third party in general, they go, nope, I'm not voting for them. They can't win. And that is a maddeningly frustrating reality, because it's like, well, we could win if you voted for us, but it's still a reality, and there's nothing we can do about it. Or let me rephrase that.
It's the odd paradox in it, right? It's like, oh, they can't win. It's like, yeah, because you won't vote for them.
Yes, but the problem is we're looking at this the wrong way. We keep banging our heads up against the wall. Well, maybe if we run this person, then they'll vote for us. Maybe if they can get on the debate stage, they'll vote for none of that's going to work, because it's not just I don't think they can win. It's also I don't know if it's going to work. I've never heard of a Libertarian senator, congressman, governor, much less president. How is this going to work? Is there a country that's run on libertarianism? So here's what I'm working on, and it's an organization called You Are the Power. We're actually in the process of launching it. It was actually going to be launched last month, but then I almost died of COVID. And it turns out you don't launch an organization while you're in your deathbed or possible deathbed. So now that I'm basically out of the woods.
Joe Biden's been doing it for a year and a half now.
I was going to be quiet.
I should have, and I don't even have cognitive decline. I could have done the interview and just been like, I can barely talk, but I can still understand what's happening. I just lost a month for no reason.
The precedent has been set. Follow it. All right? Joe Biden's doing you that favor.
Well, see, I'm screwed now because I'm not dying anymore. But anyway, so what we're doing with You Are the Power is, yes, actually, technically, we're always dying if you want to really get, depressing about this. But so what we're doing with You Are the Power is when someone says to me, I'm not voting for you, you can't win. I'm like, all right, cool. Here's what we're actually fighting for. We're fighting to end a tax increase in your city or in your county. We're fighting to do policing or criminal justice reform. We're fighting against a mask mandate. We're fighting to repeal a vaccine passport in your area. So what You Are the Power is we're actually creating a grassroots activism group that doesn't really give a crap what your political affiliation is or what party you want to vote for. That doesn't even matter to us. We're actually going to work on actual agenda items at the local level that we can actually accomplish, because then we're bringing people into the movement without trying to argue with them about whether we can win or not. We're going to win together on things we care about. And we tried this last year as a proof of concept. Was this going to be able to work? And with nothing but volunteers, with no one getting paid, and relying on donations from third-party groups, from local affiliates and nonprofits, we were able to kill bad legislation across the country. We were able to put together a network of activists that we're going to activate coming into this year, and we were able to do all that on nothing. So that's what we're working on this year, and that to me matters so much more than who the next person is we're going to pick for 2024, who's going to go around the country and try to get as much attention as possible and maybe get 2%, 3%, 4%, maybe even 5%. Until we break through that level where we actually have people who buy into libertarianism and who have got many more libertarians elected at the local level, where we're able to get libertarians elected now, it's mostly just about messaging at that top level. And that's useful to have someone up there messaging and talking about liberty at that high level. But I honestly think it's more important to get people in and have a day where we can get on the debate stage. We can actually come close to winning, or maybe one day actually win. And long before that, get libertarians elected to, major cities, to state legislative offices, governor's mansions, Congress, and everything else. So my main focus right now is on that. I'm not ruling out running for something in the future, but I don't think it matters much until we do the stuff we have to do at the ground level first.
Okay. Yeah, no, I think that's probably the best, because a lot of people, they ask, especially when we were getting ready to have you on, you and Joe, we were boosting it to our friends and talking about it, and everything's political because it's 2020.
Yeah.
And everyone asked me, they'd be like, why would I vote for a libertarian candidate? I was like, well, you probably agree with a lot more of their politics than you think, and a lot of it is just educational. A lot of people don't know. And for people that would want to be able to help you guys, one of our viewers, Zach Dunn, a friend of ours, he asked, how do I help? So how would someone, other than obviously, just reaching out to the local libertarian chapter, whatever it may be, how can they help with, You Are the Power or anything like that?
So right now, if you go to spikecohen.com/first, you can sign up to be the first to know when we actually officially launch. And at this point, we're a matter of a week or so away from launching. So if you want to do that, you can go to that. And when we do officially launch, you will know about a day or so before the general public knows. Basically what, the long and short of it is, we're going to have memberships. They're going to be $25 a year, basically a nuisance fee that pays for the cost of maintaining the membership. It rolls and putting together a network that we can have people working together. And then from there, once we have the membership together, we're going to start having membership activism leaders in different areas creating action items. And again, it's everything from when like we had in Russell, Kentucky, when a city council decides to use eminent domain to try to steal a nursing home from its owners, we can activate people and get attention to it, bring dozens of people to that meeting, and shut that down. When someone tries to pass a snitching bill in Manatee County, Florida, this is something else that happened last year. It was basically a snitching bill under the guise of, we're fighting for the life of the unborn, but there are no abortion clinics in Manatee County. This was just an ability for the county government to pay people to snitch on each other under the guise of abortion. We went in and effectively killed that. And then that was a case where the county council didn't even know what they were voting on. They had just been handed it and said, this protects the unborn. Oh, we love the unborn. And so we got there, explained what they were actually about to sign, and they're like, oh no. And then that killed that. So but instead of just me doing this or a handful of people doing this, we're going to have this being done dozens of times and eventually hundreds of times across the country. What we'll do at the top is when people are able to put together really impactful activism initiatives that they need more help on, that they need more signal boost, we promote that on our social media, my social media, and that of our partners. And all the way to, if it's a big enough and impactful enough event, we'll start bringing people out. I'll even come out to help promote it and to help, get the numbers behind it. That's the idea behind it, is sort of incentivizing grassroots activism by getting people directly involved and pulling people in. I don't care if you consider yourself a libertarian. I don't care if you consider yourself a conservative or a progressive or non-political. This has nothing to do with that. This is, if you are against this thing we're fighting against, or you are in favor of this thing that we're fighting for, then come and join us, if only for that one thing. That's what it's all about.
And I think that's great. The grassroots movement are some of the biggest things that when people ask, how can I change? This world's crazy. Like, I just don't have any power. I'm like, your locality is the biggest one. And one thing that people say when they're like, oh, I'm not political. I'm like, I bet if we sit down for 5 minutes, I can bring up something that's happening locally that affects you enough to where you care. And people just don't pay attention. They either don't vote locally, or they don't realize the impact that their mayor or their county sheriff has, or just their council members within their county or their locality. And
their local elections, right?
Yeah, their local elections. That's sometimes the biggest ones, right? Like your state governor, or even just your district or just your mayor, can impact you a whole lot more than the president.
Way more. Mm-hmm. Yeah. I tell people, I say, you're far more likely to get oppressed by your local city council doing something through your local police, or your county council, or even at the state level through your county and state police, than the president doing something through a federal agency. Like, the odds are that it's going to be and even with those federal agencies, they rely on cooperation from local and state police. That when Missouri recently passed their big Second Amendment sanctuary, where they said we're not enforcing any more federal gun laws, they didn't say it's illegal for federal agents to come here and enforce the gun laws. They just said we're not cooperating. And the ATF immediately put out something saying we can't, we don't have the numbers to enforce it. And Missouri said, yes, that was the intention. We did the math. We did the math. There's 30 of you per state, and we don't want you here. So that's the end of that. And that's another thing. If there's tyranny that you don't like that's happening at the federal level, you can get your county to be a sanctuary against those things and make it functionally impossible for the federal government to do anything, at least on that thing. So long before, we're seeing that perfect example, cannabis. Cannabis is still at the same level of illegality as heroin at the federal level. And yet there's a growing recreational and medical cannabis industries in the majority of states now, completely illegal at the federal level. And the counties and states went, I don't care about that. We're not going to enforce it. We're not going to work with you anymore. And we're going to treat it as legal. What are you going to do about it? And the feds fought back for a couple of years and then realized that was completely ineffectual, and it was actually backfiring. And so now cannabis is effectively legal for the vast majority of American residents of their state. And even though it's still highly illegal, the most illegal that illegal can be at the federal level. So nullification is where it's at, and that can happen locally.
No, I think I agree with the current president. We got to handle safe crack pipes first before we legalize cannabis.
I don't even want to talk.
Got it. Okay. All right. Let's rewind.
Everything we are talking about is a complete moot point until every single one of us has a free government crack pipe. If we have learned nothing from this pandemic, it's that we are in this together. And by this, I mean a crack den.
I've just been trying to put my locally sponsored crack den. Just the kind of a good community. Just
so I want to, since you brought this up, I do want to say this. I am not against the idea of safe injection sites and things like that. I just think the government, when you subsidize something, you get more of it. If you subsidize apples, you get more apples. You're subsidizing smoking crack.
Sorry, I don't want to get contaminated.
Please. Your mask protects me.
My cat has a virus now.
Protects you. Okay. Please
Go ahead.
protect me.
Go ahead, Spike.
I'm
You were
already
saying?
coughing. No, so I'm not against, having like this kind of stuff. I just don't want the government involved in it at all. I want to watch this.
I wouldn't say I'm against it either. I think it's just crazy that the jump from still struggling to legalize cannabis on a federal level to free safe crack pipes.
Yes,
That's a huge jump.
Imagine if when the CIA had been distributing crack in black neighborhoods in the 80s to fund the Contras, if they had been giving out free pipes.
Oh,
Exactly.
They weren't
went about it all
thinking.
wrong.
Nope.
First of all,
They went about it all wrong. Imagine how much more money they could have made from the terror groups in Nicaragua if they had just been giving out free crack pipes with it. But again,
Ronald Reagan
hindsight's
never made a
20/20.
mistake. Ronald Reagan never made a
Hindsight's
mistake.
20/20.
Nope.
Never.
So with the crack pipe, was that a federal? I heard about it briefly.
Yes.
Is that a federal one, or is that California being California?
No, that was the government that was the federal government being
That's
California.
federal.
So
Oh, okay.
it was a proposed plan, and it wasn't just crack pipes. It was also safe injection sites.
Yeah.
It was the idea of trying to reduce the spread of communicable illness among those who are doing drugs by giving them stuff so that they're not reusing the same things, which again, I'm not against it. It actually can work at the local level. I don't want the government subsidizing this. Do you want a crack pipe lobby? Do you really want like people that say,
for the Camel menthol crack pipe ad?
yes,
I love the idea. Yes, I want a 22-year-old walking around who's 103 pounds, the Capitol building, and just being
Grant
like,
McCready. Grant McCready will be in charge of the Department of Crack Pipes.
Callback.
God, I respect it. I respect it.
That's a job I know he can do well.
Every week. At least one day every week, he'll be in charge of it.
This kid's gonna be asleep the other
That's because you have the 4 down days, and then you're up for another 5.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know how crack works.
We'll time it around his binges. Yeah, no, I'm not gonna do it.
Sure.
The work-life balance of anyone that's addicted to crack needs to be taken into consideration when you're at that high of a level of crack management.
Federal crack holidays.
But like rotating crack holidays, respective of that individual's crack binge schedule.
Only federal employees get crack holidays off. The rest of you are going to work, all right? That's
not okay. I can already hear Bernie Sanders. I can see Bernie Sanders. The federal government is giving crack holidays, but yet the average Amazon worker has to work while they're coming down off of crack, and that's unacceptable.
It's the top 1% that always gets the crack holidays
1%.
off.
Why is crack vogue all of a sudden?
Jeff can take off
Jeff
as many crack
Bezos.
holidays as he wants to, but his workers are coming down off of crack and having to box things, and that's unacceptable.
It's the workers who are giving Jeff Bezos the crack. And what are the workers getting for that? Are they getting the crack? No, it's Jeff Bezos who gets all the crack.
They're getting much less crack. They're getting not even as much crack.
No bathroom breaks, no crack
Bernie
breaks.
Sanders. I was about to ask
crack.
if that was Bernie Sanders or fuck, I can't even make my joke anymore. I forgot
Nailed
who I
it.
was talking
Yeah,
about.
You
good for you.
fucking nailed
Yes.
it. Oh my god.
Whoever the second person was, that's who it is, actually.
That's
Woody
it.
Allen. I was gonna say
Woody
Bernie
Allen.
Sanders or Woody Allen, but then I realized they're pretty much the same person.
Every Jew is that voice. And I'm Jewish. But I just go to that voice.
It's true.
It doesn't matter. As soon as
It's
I know
true.
someone's Jewish, if they don't sound like that at all, okay? When I thought Whoopi Goldberg was Jewish, I would go straight to that voice. They were all the same color. It had nothing to do with racism. But it turns out she's not even Jewish. So then I have to figure out how her voice sounds.
No. Woody Allen did the voice. If you ever heard Woody Allen talk and then you hear him do his stand-up, even he's just like, oh my god, I went into a New York deli and they sold me a bagel, and you're just like, oh god, that was insulting to everybody. No,
Yeah.
it's just the voice you do.
It's just the voice you do.
It's
I'm
just
sorry.
like your Jersey grandmother that smokes Pall Malls 9 times a day. Voice that you default to.
I've
Yes,
dated the
that's-
girl
yes,
who
exactly.
had that mother. I have dated her. I've taken the train up to northern New Jersey and dated that girl.
So, Spike, you're very outspoken, which is great. And Austin, he commented saying that it feels great to know that there's a sane voice of reason in today's world. And I've listened to your podcast here and there whenever it pops up on my thing, a few of the episodes, the Muddy Waters podcast, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And you're never afraid to say what needs to be said. So we wanted to ask you, with the current air of censorship going on through the internet, with COVID, misinformation, all sorts of stuff, particularly the Joe Rogan controversy that's going through, how is that impacting you at all? Or, how do you feel about that? Do you feel like some people should be censored or just no censorship?
I don't. So there's a couple things there.
Or is it just completely getting out of hand?
So I've been only mildly affected. There were a couple videos that I've put up where either I or someone said something that the algorithm thought was medical misinformation. One of the ones that was taken down, and the wording from the transcript that they told me was medical misinformation was vaccines don't stop the spread of COVID. That is factually accurate, and no one disputes that. And yet YouTube will straight up take something down if they think that you're insinuating such a thing. And I didn't say vaccines are completely ineffective, and I didn't say, I said nothing like that. I said that vaccines do not stop the spread, do not stop community transmission of COVID. This was before Omicron, where now, that's a joke. It's ridiculous now. I'm pretty sure I got it from someone who's vaccinated. At this point, that's completely normalized. No one's even disputing that. And that's the problem. Because even if you go in with the intention of saying, well, we just want to get rid of people that are saying obviously dangerous, bad things. They don't have the wherewithal to actually do that. They have robots doing it. And so they've got these phrases and sentences to watch out for. And it's, so for the average, low to mid-tier podcaster, and I'll put myself on that, I'm not getting millions of views. I'm getting blocked by frickin' robots. And when I dispute it, they're like, no, sorry, this is all team mid-tier here.
You'll reach our
too
level
kind.
soon enough. It's okay.
Yeah.
Joe Rogan's podcast is below us.
I feel it coming. But so but then someone like Joe Rogan. Yes, any minute now. Joe Rogan is at a level where it's not the robots grabbing him. It's the people that are reviewing it saying, holy crap, this guy's challenging our narrative. And the thing what's interesting is, this guy's had controversial figures on his show. What set them off was when he had Robert Malone on. Now, I'm not going to pretend that I know whether I agree or disagree with Robert Malone and any of his claims. But he had him on, and that's when the floodgates opened. Because he had someone on who is straight up against I co-sign that. Your mom should definitely have a show.
Shut the fuck up, Spike Cohen.
Right off the bat. So just saying, right off the bat. So having him on the show, what ends up happening is now, that's when the Joe Rogan N-word thing came out. That's when Neil Young decided to. I just want to talk about Neil Young.
Oh,
Neil Young has played everybody. Okay, Neil Young has been complaining about Spotify for years. He has threatened to pull his catalog from Spotify for years. He actually had already pulled some of his catalog from Spotify. This was his opportunity to do something he already wanted to do and get more attention in the past month than he's gotten his entire life, even back when he was charting. And he has gotten more streaming, and he's being prominently featured on Apple and all. And you know where else Amazon, he's been? Where one of the biggest ones that he's been prominently displayed? YouTube. Do you know what else YouTube has? Joe Rogan. He has not once complained about Joe Rogan continuing to be on YouTube. He has not once continued to complain about Joe Rogan clips being on some of the other platforms that he's on. This was a chance for him to get off of Spotify and get more attention than he's ever gotten. He has, his
It was a
supporters
publicity
convinced
ploy? No.
he played everyone, and I'm not even angry at him because it's worked perfectly for him. I'm sure he didn't like what Joe Rogan was doing, but that was not the deal breaker. Again, why is he on YouTube? Why is he on YouTube when Joe Rogan is also still on YouTube? His clips and his full shows are on YouTube. Why does that not matter? So that he played everyone. But so with Joe, I think what we're seeing is corporate media is they're angry that Joe Rogan gets more views than all of their networks combined.
Yes.
Like literally.
Yes.
And to put that in perspective, Joe Rogan's average viewership is 12 million views per episode. The average Fox News show gets around 1.5 million views. The average CNN show gets between 500,000 and 1 million views, and the average MSNBC show gets between 250,000 and 500,000. He's literally getting more than all of them combined, and like many more than all of them combined. So they're mad about that, and they're mad that he's like bringing on. They didn't get mad when he brought on Sanjay Gupta. They got mad that he also brought on someone with a different opinion. And so now, all the long knives are out. Joe Rogan's the worst person on earth. And it's backfiring because more people his episodes keep getting higher records of viewership than the one before it because they won't stop. They're doing to him what they did to Donald Trump. They're giving him
Exactly.
Yeah.
What I love is as soon as CNN and all the liberal media started attacking Joe Rogan, all of a sudden Fox News was like behind Joe Rogan out of nowhere.
Yes.
And like even liberal media is like conservative talk show podcast host. I'm like, he's not. And also to attach it to you, he's talked several times about how he voted for Joe Jorgensen in the last election.
Yep.
Like he's not conservative.
I love when I'm on Kennedy or RT or on like national, and they'll ask me about Joe Rogan, and I'll say, well, to defend, first of all, I just want to say I'm not defending Joe because he voted for me, and then I get to say whatever I wanted to say. But I make a point of doing that, and I do it in a not obviously smug way, but just smug enough where if you know me personally, I'm intentionally being smug for the sake of it. And,
I appreciate that a lot.
Yeah. Okay, thank you. Well, good. No, I'm glad you do because I do it every time I go, listen, first of all, I just want to make it clear, I'm not defending him because he voted for me. And then I'll say whatever the thing is. And that's just, that's my moment. But no, so I mean, he has called himself a centrist. There's many things that he's on the left about, especially on things like, oddly enough, healthcare. He's kind of thinks that some gun control should be applied. He's a moderate. Like he voted for us because he didn't like Trump or Biden, but he's not a libertarian, or at least not philosophically a libertarian. I think he's kind of like most voters who are somewhere in the middle, not really sure what they think. Maybe he is a libertarian, but he doesn't call himself that. And he endorsed Bernie Sanders during the primary. Then after that, when Biden got it, he said he liked Trump better than Biden, and then he ended up voting for us. So I mean, this guy's not for anything. He's kind of trying to figure it out. That's why he has interesting people on his show to talk ideas out. Fancy that.
No, I agree. That's one thing I've always liked about a show. There's been episodes that I don't agree with. There's things that he said that I don't agree with all the time, but he's doing and accomplishing it because of his celebrity. But we strive to do on this show was to have interesting people from all across political spectrums, or just also throughout different topics, non-political, to bring more information out to people, because the podcast is a very primary source where people get a lot of their information from. And if they're listening to the wrong
increasingly
podcasts or not good ones that are diverse, they're only getting that confirmation bias or not new information. And there's so many different podcasts. My wife listens to like 5 different murder mystery, or not murder mystery, like cold case. Like, just real quick, can we all acknowledge like the scariness of like the basic white lady attraction to like murder podcasts at this point? Like they're doing a whole lot more research than I feel comfortable with.
They know
that's who's going to be the next Dexter.
By process of elimination, they know how to kill you and probably get away with it. And I mean, they had a show called How to Get Away with Murder, and you just have white women just lining up to watch this stuff. They are weaponizing white women in a way that really didn't seem possible in previous generations. Really, we thought the white women were safe.
Who is the them, though? That's the question.
Who is they that we're talking about? Who is weaponizing the white women?
You know who they are.
Anyway, the Jews are weaponizing white women. I thought they was obvious. I thought they was.
And Tyler's out.
Send in the Shiksa platoon.
It was, send in the Shiksas. That's literally what it is. That's actually, it's Tyler back, because I think he missed the thing about the Shiksas. So,
he's always listening.
Operation
I was not expecting that. That took me completely by surprise.
What else would they be? Anyway, so
You tell me, Jewish, Spike Cohen?
Yeah, what? Cohen. I'm Jewish, so this is my word. I can say this, but the white women. I forget what we were talking about, but I think everyone should be at least mildly concerned about how steady and calm a lot of white women seem. A lot of them, because they just said they're like, I'm already killing you, and you don't know. See, that's the thing. This is what I used to say. So, like, people are like, oh, don't date a Latina woman because she'll slash your tires or something like that. And I'm like, well, first of all, that's racist. And second of all, the white woman will just slowly poison your coffee every single day and then come to your funeral crying with the children and collect the life insurance check and then continue on with her life. But your tires will be fine because she's going to drive your car. And
she's got to preserve the tires.
Yeah, you got to preserve this. Why would you slash your own tires? Okay,
it costs money.
It costs money, exactly. So this is, that's, I think, again, I don't remember what this was about, but I do think it's important to note whatever I just said.
Got it. Okay, hold on. I'm writing this down, Spike.
Please write that.
White women
are scary.
I just wrote bad.
Yeah.
So I just wrote white women equals bad.
Oh, you are taking notes.
Yeah.
We'll see.
What if they're Hungarian? Is that like a super top tier level you should definitely worry about?
Nope, they're fantastic, and I don't want to get killed tonight.
I was going to say,
if that's dangerous at all, and they're fantastic.
If that's a personal reference, then definitely not.
No, exactly. All white women are dangerous, except Hungarian women.
My wife. Yes.
Spike gets it. This guy gets it. This guy gets it. Hey, wait, yeah. Rico, Rhodes, you guys are fired. Spike and I are taking over this show.
This is now the show, yeah.
I've been waiting for this to happen for a long time, actually.
Yeah.
It's been a long time coming.
I endorse it. I'll be production at this point.
I got to do Bernie Sanders voices with him. Stop it.
Yeah.
So,
this is now.
Speaking of Eastern European bloc countries,
that was a great segue. That was a great segue.
Good, actually, yeah.
I do what I can. Belarus. No, obviously Ukraine. We've had a guest before in our early episodes. A friend of ours that has done a lot of work out in Ukraine. He would personally go over there and help the separatists over there. And we got some really good information, but it's been a few years since we've had that. And so how much about that going on, and how concerned are you? Because I don't know how many family members I've had reach out to me and be like, are you going to go? Like we just saw, especially when that DOD announcement of the alert for all the other units, they're like, what's going to happen? I was like, for one, I'm in a hospital. They're not fucking taking me anywhere. For two, we're fine. Like we're okay. They're not mobilizing everyone right now. Like that would be a terrible choice.
Oh gosh. So here is my take on what's happening here, and I mean, you guys, you might even have more insight on this than me. But here's what it looks like to me.
Not even a little
because bit. When I look at well, I was banking on you knowing more than me, but whatever. Because this is going to be poorly informed subject. No. So from when I read about the what's referred to as negotiations here it's talked, imminent conflict. Everywhere else they're just saying negotiation between Zelensky and Putin, between Ukraine and Russia. What it sounds like is that there is this relatively inflamed dispute over Crimea and surrounding territories and a few other issues, some of which are not territory related. Some of them are related to Nord Stream 2, the pipeline, and some other stuff. And the attempt, supposedly, by both parties to try to get back to their agreement status from the Minsk 2 negotiations, or Minsk 3, or whatever it is, some agreement they have from like 2014 or 2015. Anyway,
you already know 1,000% more than any.
Okay, is that? Am I already okay?
No, I'm with him. I'm on board.
Long story short, if you look outside of North American media, because for some reason Canadian media isn't on this too, but if you get outside of North American media and you read like Reuters and stuff like that, you get a much less hyperbolic picture of what's happening. Yes, there is a troop buildup in on the Russian side and on the Ukrainian side, which would make sense because they're in a bit of a heated negotiation. But no one thinks that there's going to be any kind of invasion. But then you have the U.S. government that's constantly saying, we have evidence. We're not going to show you, but we have evidence that Russia is going to plant a false flag. Like, we're in Alex Jones territory now. Russia is going to invade any minute now. We're telling our personnel to get out. The State Department just warned all American citizens in Ukraine to get out. And all of these different things. And we have 8,500 troops, which, that'll definitely conquer Russia there. At 8,500 troops, there in Eastern Europe. And I was being perfectly, that wasn't a sarcasm, by the way. And
we're tracking that.
Yeah, they got a lot.
8,500, entire country's done. So so it's the American media and government that are hyping this up.
Yes.
And what I feel perfectly safe. My take on this is that the Biden administration is trying to distract from record unemployment, the fact that they're not shutting down the virus. The virus is wildly spreading out of control. The president is wildly unpopular. It's obvious he's suffering from cognitive decline. His vice president manages to be less popular than Dick Cheney, who shot a guy in the face. Although I think that actually helped his numbers because that guy was a lawyer. There's all these things that are like, happening that they're trying to distract from. And his domestic agenda is basically dead on arrival.
Inflation.
Everything that's going on. And I think what he's banking on is that he can pretend that there's this war that's bound to happen. But if the U.S. saber rattles enough, then it will stop, then it won't happen. And that when it inevitably doesn't happen, when there isn't an invasion, he can then pull out the George Bush's mission accomplished flag and do a victory tour and say, look at what I've done. But think about what that means. He is relying on he and his administration and State Department and Pentagon to act like absolute psychopaths and rely on Ukrainian and Russian government to continue to act mature and basically ignore them. That's not a good gamble to take. It's likely to work because everyone's gotten used to us acting like psychopaths, but that's like, I'm going to kind of threaten an invasion of a nuclear power that has more nukes than we do, and more importantly, can put those nukes anywhere on the face of the planet in a matter of hours, because I'm pretty sure they're not going to call my bluff. That's my
the leader of our country. That's the leader of our country's thinking right now.
That is one thing that super confused me with all of this, and that's coming from a military standpoint, is that they're activating all these people, they're putting them on the border, up in Poland, and they're saying it's to protect our NATO allies. I'm like, Russia's not trying to take Poland.
No.
They have that conflict in Ukraine, and we can't put soldiers there. I'm like, so basically you're trying to bluff something that's not going to happen. Or you're saying that that's why, but they're showing force, like they're on the Russian border, Belarusian border, and they're like, hey, if you do that thing, like, he still knows that we're not going to do anything. We could put our entire military on the border of Belarus and Russia, and he would still be like, yeah, I'm I'm still going to take Ukraine because
He's
you're
not,
going
though.
to come here.
There's not going to be a ground war.
That's what I'm saying. If there is anything that happens, God forbid, because again, this is like we're talking about the U.S. government military invading fucking Russia. So if this is something we were able to avoid during the entire Cold War because of mutually assured destruction, and because the current administration is like
inept,
the unicorn factory, that they're seriously considering abandoning all of that and doing a weird version of mutually assured destruction, which is mutually assuming that Vladimir Putin won't get spooked at all by all this shit. And it would be the equivalent of if Vladimir Putin were trying to distract from problems in his country and couldn't just lock up anyone who disparaged him. And so what he did was, there's because of the dispute between the U.S. and Mexico over, where the migrants are supposed to be housed or whatever. And so he just dropped 10,000 troops in Cuba. And then all over the media, all over RT International and corporate media in Russia and proxy media in Eastern Bloc countries, he's saying the U.S. is bound to invade our proud neighbors and friends of Mexico, and we will be there. We will not allow this aggression to stand. And we're like, no, we're not doing that. Well, if it happens, we'll be right there. And banking on us not going, hey, you know what, screw you. And then that turning into a whole thing. That's the dumbest play ever. And why? Because maybe it'll help them in the midterms.
Wartime president.
This would be stupid to do with any country putting U.S. service personnel, not to mention all the people the normies that just live there, on their lives on the line. Russia can put nukes anywhere that any American or anyone else lives now.
It's manufacturing a conflict because he's losing face domestically.
Yes.
That's all it is.
You're supposed to do that with weak countries that you can beat their ass. That. You're supposed to do that with yes, not even Mexico. Mexico's close. That
takes care of the border
Yemen.
crisis.
You do that with Syria. Yeah, you do that with Syria. You do that with Yemen. You do that with some country that you can genocide and kill 1 million of their people, and all they can do is shake their fists at you and get angry. And worst case scenario, a couple hundred U.S. service people die. They certainly don't matter at all. Maybe a couple hundred more, a few thousand more come home with permanent chronic health illness. Well, we'll deal with that later. That's not a problem. They can just die of heroin later and be homeless. But nothing serious, of course. This is this is how they look at it. And this is you know what? Screw it. We're going to do it with a nuclear power. It's insane to me.
Go big or go home.
That's like being on the playground.
Yeah, exactly. I'd like to go home. Can we I vote for going home. Can we go home?
Yeah, I would also agree with that.
Is this a silent vote?
Yeah, I'm also super cool with not fighting Russia.
Yeah.
Yeah. And this is coming from three people who aren't, we're not the bang bangs. We're not on the boot. We're the dudes with the red crosses and generally the first ones to go.
At least we'd be in a legal war at that point, as opposed to what we've been going through. So,
you know what? We would die with NATO legalities.
A lot of us are like,
on paper rules.
Protect me.
Your final moments, you can say this
that way
was authorized.
Yeah, that way when the Russian sniper shoots me in the face for being a medic with the Red Cross, I can be like, he broke the Hague.
Jail.
Wow. I'll see you in the ICC.
Yeah.
The UN is going to be very pissed
as I choke on my own blood.
Yes.
So Grant disappeared for a moment. He's trying to see if you support a U.S. intervention. I don't think that's what we're going for in this conversation. But how do you feel, Spike?
If Russia was to actually invade Ukraine,
I don't. The purpose of the U.S. military is to protect the American people and the Constitution and the U.S. homeland. And literally,
you mean like every other country's military?
Yes, essentially, yes. when you signed your oath, at no point you're the one that swore your oath. At no point was it like, and our NATO allies and those who may consider joining NATO in the future. Like, it has nothing to do. And our international anti-terrorism partners. Like, it has nothing to do.
It's
with
that ever classic military nuance of threats, domestic and foreign. Foreign and domestic. You
missed it.
Yeah, the military is always great with putting those little loopholes in there.
It's
like,
just like
the U.S. Like, no, but they're a threat.
Enemies, foreign and domestic, to the United States, and that's you know. Like, well, you never know. It could happen.
Hey,
but the
if,
crazy thing about this,
what if the USSR being in Vietnam was terrible to the United States? You know what I'm saying? So that's why we need to go into Vietnam. To stop the USSR.
Well, I mean, we definitely win that because Vietnam. I mean, who's even there? We definitely. I mean, we knocked that out.
The Vietnamese are Spike. Yeah, there's.
It's actually.
I meant like, you know, a threat. You know, like I think we could take out Vietnam so quickly. You have no idea. But you specifically. But this is the founders warned about entangling. I think it was actually Washington himself who warned about entangling alliances, and we have seen that play out. World War One, arguably the Spanish-American War, but definitely World War One, World War Two, which was an extension of World War One, the Cold War, which was pretty much an extension of World War One. All of this has been playing out because of a series of entangling alliances. NATO was supposed to disband after the Cold War ended, and yet we still have it for I have no idea why. And they
somebody's making money.
Well, yes, exactly. and this, which by the way, again, going back to the crack pipe thing, what happens when we end up in an entangling multinational crack pipe alliance because of this whole? That's what happens when you have a lobby, right? So this is what happens. But no, I'm completely against the idea of sending y'all and sending the people who have signed up to protect and defend the American people and the Constitution and our homeland to fight in hypothetical conflicts that are usually made worse by the threat of our involvement. And it's terrible. Like, this is a bad thing. Everyone thankfully seems to be negotiating in good faith, or largely in good faith, because they recognize that this is the biggest paper dragon saber rattle ever. But what if they didn't? Like, what if they actually thought for a second that Joe Biden actually wants to, protect the Ukraine or whatever? That would be some scary shit. Like, I hope that Putin thinks this is all nonsense and continues to move accordingly, because it doesn't look like, again, outside of our media, it's not an invasion or not a threat. It's a negotiation. It's a heated negotiation, but it's a negotiation. Let them negotiate. I trust the adults over there to figure it out. And if they can't, then that's on them. And that's a y'all problem. That's not an us problem.
I agree. We should be more concerned with the United States and the prosperity of the United States. What's going on, and I've heard this throughout the years, we're not the world's police. That's not what we're supposed to be doing. And when I've been in 2 foreign countries, stationed there, and I've had this happen in both places where someone of that country is like, why don't you all just leave? And then we look at them and we go, we would if we could. They're like, why
you don't want to be there. Exactly.
Dude, I'm a private. I don't fucking know.
Why don't you leave? Why don't you tell your boss that it's time to go and then go?
I was in a bar in Korea and I had a drunk dude about my age. He's like, why are you even here? I was like, I don't even know. Don't even know. By the way, you're welcome that North Korea hasn't fucked you up yet. But by the way, I have no idea. I don't know.
Well, but that's the thing. We're sending 17, 18, 19, 20 up to, I guess just south of 30 typically, unless they're, higher up in leadership. But we're sending people that are, we tell them they can't own a firearm domestically, but they, we send them over and they often.
Here's this M16.
Yes, you can't have a pistol at home. Here's how you operate a Hellfire missile, and And it's Monday, so you have to shoot 1,000 of these things off because our budget is about to roll over.
Oh God, I wish.
Yeah, I talked to someone who
September.
their job was just to fire rockets off when it was time, like when the budget
Right before that fiscal.
Yeah.
September 20th, right before that fiscal in October.
Yes, for our freedoms.
Yeah, how many
so
rounds have you been to, Tyler, where they're like, we have 1,000 rounds, and they're like, we don't want to turn these in.
Are you kidding me? I can't get
two
ammo.
NCOs with.
I just want to shoot M17 ammo, and they're just like, we don't have the budget for that. And I was like, what are you talking about? This asshole just shot 14 missiles into a goddamn mountain in Georgia a year ago. I just want to go practice on my fucking sidearm.
That's why they don't have the money. We're all in this together.
And then we have too many rounds, and you have some private over there, Rambo holding 2 squad machine guns, shooting off. Because we didn't want to turn it in. Allegedly.
I too have seen that TikTok video, yes.
I don't know how many times I've seen that. And I'm just standing next to him like, please don't shoot anyone. Please don't make me do my job. Please don't make me
or do it, so I got something to do.
Fair. That's fair. Bro,
I haven't touched a real patient in years. Fuck it.
On the idea of America being the world police, when we have been trying to be the world police, we end up engaging in massive amounts of police brutality. Like if you look at how these things are playing out, you've got this weird mix of service people who are, waiting to actually get shot back at so that they can defend themselves against obvious insurgents who are setting up shop. Meanwhile, the insurgents live there and are just want you to go. And it's just this like, who's the bad guy there? The bad guy is the one who sent you there. I have a hard time. I get it. When you're there and you don't want to die, and you're protecting yourselves and your loved ones and your buddies on the field, they're the bad guy. But in reality, like, if that's their home and they're trying to get you to leave, then is that truly a bad guy, or is the bad guy the one who conflagrated this whole thing by sending you there in the first damn place? And to me, the bad guys are the ones who lied us into sending you there to benefit the corporations who put them in office and pay their campaigns and make them incredibly wealthy lobbyists once they're no longer in DC, and know that all of this just maximizes their profits at the cost of the lives of thousands of U.S. service members, the long-term health of tens or hundreds of thousands more, and the lives of countless hundreds of thousands or millions of civilians in other countries. That's the bad guy. And it's like there's no reason for it. It shouldn't be happening.
It's completely asinine, a lot of the conflict, because you start getting into that paradox of, in the guise of a philosophy, pretty much, terrorism. You have people that don't want you in their country, and then we're only there to fight the philosophy to keep our people who are away from that country safe. It is a whole shit thing, and then people say we have more important shit happening here, right, that we should focus on.
Yes.
And so my next question to you, Spike, is what's like your top 5 things that we need to bear down and fucking focus on in the United States that are like the most glaring problems that we have going on? Because everyone will it's COVID, it's the border, it's this, that, or this. Everyone's kind of different. So what do you kind of see that as?
Well, I'll tell you this: the number, it's hard to break down it in 2 ways. In one way, it's hard to break it down into just 5. In another way, it's easy to break it down into just 1. Every single thing that we're seeing happen at the federal government level happens because they have the ability to create unlimited amounts of wealth. They're able to create money out of thin air. They don't even bother printing it out anymore. They just add zeros to a digital ledger. And by doing that, they're able to hand off money to themselves, their agencies, the cronies who put them in office. And in doing so, because they're actually stealing your wealth, because they're basically inflating the money supply, it would be like if we had a pizza that was split between the 4 of us, and I said, okay, each one of you gets 1 slice. And then I take this pizza that's sliced into 4, and I slice it into 16. and then you still get 4 slices, but they're a quarter of the value that they originally were. That's basically what they're doing with the money supply. When they keep expanding the money supply, there's more money chasing the same number of goods and services, which makes the cost of those things go up. So the closer you are to that money supply, the politicians, the government agencies, the wealthy cronies who get paid first, the closer you are to the actual increase in your wealth. Everyone's prices are going up the same, but we're the ones waiting for a $1,200 check that may or may not come. They're the ones getting millions, billions of dollars right off the bat. That allows them to pick winners and losers, and to rob the vast majority of Americans for the benefit of a very small handful of incredibly wealthy and powerful people. That is what leads to this growing gap between the extreme wealthy and literally everyone else in the country. That's what leads to inflation. What leads to endless spending on things like war and imprisonment of millions of people for victimless crimes, things that we would never agree to be taxed for directly. But instead they say, oh, your taxes need to go up to pay off the interest of the debt for all the great things we're doing. There are so many things that happen because government controls money. They control the printing of the money. They control the policy of how much money exists. They control all of that. My biggest thing is not just end the Fed, but get government out of money entirely. Repeal their ability to have any say in money. Leave that to a free market of competing people who now have a vested interest in providing you with the most sound and valuable currency possible, not because they're great people, but because they want your business over your competitor, whether it's crypto, whether it's physical money like gold, silver, whatever, or probably some combination of all sorts of different things. Just that one thing ends the endless spending. It ends the endless debt. It ends the presumption that government is creating value, which it is not. It ends their ability to pay off cronies. It ends all of their terrible policies that we never agree to pay for directly. And now it forces them to actually demonstrate that the money they're either taking or us willingly giving them is in exchange for actual value, because we have control of our money. If that one thing happened, then so many of these other things, foreign policy, immigration, public safety, public health, inflation, the economy, all of that stuff would largely resolve itself because the government couldn't try to stranglehold us and pick winners and losers. So that to me is the single biggest issue from which everything else stems.
So with that though, in order for that to happen, right? Congress and Senate, they have to make a vote. Which always comes to the very classic thing. Basically, you have to have the people who are a part of the corruption vote on something that limits their corruption.
And they're starting to make a change. Pelosi, she apparently made enough money in the stock market. She's now for limiting the ability of Congress people to buy stocks and shit. So, I mean, that's positive, right? She made enough money.
Personally, they can't pick specific shots. They can do diversify and shit like that. But
and that also didn't apply to their spouses. And that's how she made all of her money. She's not investing. It's her husband.
Own. Yep. I have watched enough CSI to know about shell companies and straw man buyers, and come on, we know they can get by, but
of course.
So with that, how would you? So I agree with you that obviously the corruption is one of the biggest things. There's the industrial military complex, of course, that's saturated with money, which is why we're so invested in the wars, and then obviously the lobbyers, which is why medication and opioid crises and supply chains and all those different issues. What would be the best way to go about changing that if the people that are supposed to do it are the ones that are voting on their own corruption? It's just like when people say, why are they in office for so long? Well, because they have to vote on their own term limits. Why the fuck?
Exactly. Yeah. So the short answer is we got to kick them out. I don't believe there are many reforms that can be made even with the existing people in Congress. I think there's a good chance of being able to end qualified immunity. I think that there is potentially a good chance to legalize or at least decriminalize cannabis at the federal level. I do think that there are potential gains that can be made. But when it comes to the high level first principle stuff, you are not going to get the Foxes to dismantle their own, hen slaughter machine at the hen house. Like it is going to take a sea change culturally of people recognizing the scam for what it is, realizing this is not Republican versus Democrat. It's not even really left versus right, certainly not in Capitol Hill. It's about it's not even the 1% versus the 99%. It's like the 0.0001% versus literally everyone else. It's about a small, almost infinitesimal number of people that own almost everything in any effective way and have access to essentially all of the government power versus everyone else. And when we can do that, which is why I'm focusing on You Are the Power, is because the more we can demonstrate to people that they have the ability, they're not powerless, they are not just some cog in a machine that endlessly has to decide whether to vote for blue flavored tyranny or red flavored tyranny, which is why so many eligible voters don't
Which,
even
by the
vote.
way, it's all the same flavor, just different color.
It actually is the same flavor.
Worst
Yes,
Gatorade brand ever.
it's just like those Freezy Pops. They're literally all the same flavor, except they're also filled with poison, which makes them slightly worse than Freezy
It's
Pops.
also cancer.
But it's
much
still cancer,
like
yeah.
the normal Otter Pops, actually.
Yes, but it's like Tab. It's basically like Tab. But so it tastes okay, and you will die of cancer. But the more we can get people to recognize you can win things now at the local level, and as we grow this, we can work our way up to the county level, the state level, and eventually the federal level. Then we can do these things. It's not going to happen overnight. It's not going to. We're not going to see. There's not going to be There's this idea in libertarian circles that we're going to have a libertarian moment. A libertarian, me or Justin Amash or Dave Smith or Joe Jorgensen or something, is going to get on the debate stage, and we are going to, for an hour and a half, we're going to tell the truths that Americans knew deep down, and
all
then
the
they're
Americans
going to
have an instant epiphany.
They're going to go, oh my God, honey, I did never hear of libertarianism until this very moment. This Spike Cohen, he's saying all the things. Change our registration tomorrow. And the wife's like, I don't know how to. Why am you change your own registration? But this is, we trick ourselves into thinking this like magic thing. We're going to trick people into voting libertarian, and then we're going to get elected to the White House, and we're going to trickle down liberty on everyone. It's nonsense. It's never going to happen. It is going to be a series of victories happening at the local grassroots level, bringing people into recognizing that yes, we, including you, can win. You have way more power than you recognize. We can organize together and actually take back the power that was stolen from us. And here's how we do it. And that's why that to me matters more than whoever takes the next tilt at the windmill. And again, I'm not even ruling out being the next guy to take the tilt at the windmill. It's not what I think is the most important thing. And we're never going to get to that point to where we take the power that's been stolen from us out of the hands of those who stole it from us until we do the building work that needs to be done. There is no Hail Mary pass to taking over the most powerful entity that has ever existed, that grows exponentially every few years. That's not going to happen. It's going to take tremendous amounts of people power just dismantling the whole thing.
And I agree. It takes all of the people that you talk to every day that just complain about the government. And they're like, well, what's the point in doing anything because we can't do anything anyway.
There's nothing we can do.
There's nothing you can do. It's the local level. It's doing stuff. And I was listening to an episode with Dak Shepard. He had Michael Moore on there, and Michael Moore was saying, generally a predominant liberal.
Yeah, very progressive.
Very progressive. And he was like, a majority of the country, 80% of the country, agrees on a majority of the things. He's like, it's 10% on each side that is a part of the news cycle and everything else, and they're the most vocal. That's why everyone feels that it's the Republicans against the liberals, or the liberals against Republicans. But 80% of us generally, and I've always kind of held that view because, and one thing that people don't realize, and we've talked about on the show, is being in the military, we are that, that 80%. A lot of people feel that in the military, we're all this red-blooded country. No, we're all from so many different walks of life, and so you're standing. It's a beautiful mix, and you're standing next to the dude from New York or the dude from, podunk fucking Alabama, and they're talking about the same shit. They're eating the same fucking meal. They're enjoying themselves, and they would fight and die for each other. And then you got, the trans soldier, the gay guy, the super roided up beef guy. Like, we're all there. We are the 80% of the country, and so I've always seen it, and everyone else is just like, oh well, it's them. They're trying to do it. I'm like, it's really us against them. Like that top 10% that's trying to keep us divided, because if we're divided, you can't fight, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So I agree with you 100%. It's the local. You got to start from the bottom. You can't just expect this whole big national change to happen all at once.
When someone recognizes that at the county level, not even necessarily the state level, at the county level, especially if it's a big enough county, they can nullify every bit of shit they hate at the state and federal level and make it almost impossible for that to be effectively enforced in their area. That is such a powerful feeling. If you recognize that in your area, you can organize a couple hundred people, maybe even just a few dozen people, to show up reliably at city and county councils to nullify everything that you hate that's coming out of the state and federal level, and it becomes functionally impossible for them to at least widespread do any enforcement of those things. I don't think most people realize that's possible. I'm not even talking about when you reach the point that you get your sheriff of choice elected who just straight up refuses to enforce any of it. I'm talking about just getting statutory sanctuary legislation put in place that makes it functionally impossible for the feds to enforce things, because the government, the local police and government aren't allowed to cooperate with it. And if we get people to recognize that power, long before we get into Congress, long before we even honestly take over state legislatures and state houses, we will have already accomplished functionally a large amount of what we're trying to get done. And then really we're just going up to the higher levels to make it permanent, to make sure it doesn't happen again in the future, and that there aren't future attempts at anything. But the level of empowerment, when I have seen, when I've showed up and helped kill bad bills that everyone just assumed were going to get passed because every other bad bill got passed, so why wouldn't this one be? And I told them, just having me come and talk, but more importantly, having 15 of you show up in support of what we're doing was enough to kill this thing. Because so many people are complacent and apathetic, it doesn't often take many people showing up and presenting a good case, a good argument to those elected officials for them to go, all right, well, you're the only ones who showed up, and it looks like you guys mean business, so we'll go with that. Like, it really is. It really is.
You don't need 100,000 person petition. You don't need a massive protest in the streets to change that stuff. And I mean, I'm guilty of it. How many of us have been driving around whichever town we're in and see the local sheriff election poster up on the side of the road, and you're like, in a county I fucking live in, and I'm like, who the fuck is that guy?
Yeah.
I personally don't care just because I move every 3 years. You're not really going to affect me, but I still vote for, my home back in Idaho. I vote for local legislation when it comes up.
Yeah.
I get the absentee ballots, even though I haven't lived there in 10, 11 years. And
uninformed vote.
What'd you say?
That's an uninformed vote. You need to give up.
I'm paying attention. I just don't live there. So it doesn't directly affect me. I'm still paying attention.
You have stolen the election from Donald Trump every time you do that. Every time you do that, Q loses.
This is y'all's fault, all right? This is all three of yours fault. Spike, more so you than the other two.
Yeah, no, my fault way more than anyone else.
Yeah. Not hiding from that. Spike's like, yeah, I did it.
Yeah. I could have been living in 4 more years of MAGA, and you got in my way.
Yeah, I did. It started in Michigan, where I derailed the campaign from within, and then moving out from there, I kept telling people, vote for Joe. Vote for
And
Joe.
you were so ambiguous about it that no one knew what to do. And you
We
know what
must
they did?
stop Donald Trump by voting for Joe.
And now I don't know what to do with these hats. Spike,
I have
all right?
so many hats.
I have so many hats that are red. All right? And I don't know what
Yes.
to do with them.
I have one blue one because Trump thought he was going to run for the Democratic, but it's fine.
Yes, sir. He was like, what is this, Chicago? All right.
Yes.
I want to bring on Lori Lightfoot. She's great.
Oh gosh, we don't got enough time for that.
Don't have enough
Wow.
time for
Right?
Lori Lightfoot. That was
I'm
one of
gonna-
my. That was one of my
I'm gonna
things.
I'm gonna broadcast my
tried-
next YouTube video.
I tried to go on Lori Lightfoot's post where she sprawled out like $83 and told people to vaccine.
Oh God.
And I just wanted the couch. I said, "Is this the couch auction? How much for the couch?" Ashanti sent me here, and there was she didn't bite.
She didn't tag that. Well, she's not taking interviews from anyone who's not, a person.
Do you know
of color.
why?
Yes, I remember
Do you know
that.
why?
I told her,
Yeah,
I
okay.
said, "I've got my Accord pulled up in the back. I just want the couch, man." And she never responded.
Spike, this is why you take advantage. You go, I'm not white, I'm Jewish.
That,
Is this the Whoopi
This
Goldberg
is
argument?
why-
I would like to buy
Yeah,
the couch.
this is
Buy
this is the Whoopi Goldberg argument.
I've come with. I have more money than you've got on the floor there. And I just
Excuse
want
me.
the couch.
I understand that your city's poor. I
I
come here
want-
for you.
I
want
put
the
my
couch.
$1 bills out. Get couched. And I say, I would like the couch. That was so little money. And she says, get these
that's
stacks,
when,
get
when
vaxxed
she had
and
it
get
out there, we
stacks.
posted a picture on our site, and I zoomed in on it. I was talking to them like I think it was a pre-show, and like I zoomed in and I started counting like which ones they were. I was like, they're all Lincolns.
Yeah, it was fives.
One letter of Jefferson's.
It was like
That
this is
city's
like
so great.
$83. Like it was ridiculous. It was like if you get vaccinated, we will pay for your bus fare home. Like it was not much money at all. Like if you're gonna coerce me with taxpayer money to get vaccinated, I want a stack. Like I want bands. I don't want to go home with like.
I'm going from the
20.
vaccine site to the strip club. Like we're
The
Yes,
thing is,
I
I've
want to
ridden on a
walk
bus.
away. What's
The
that?
bus in Chicago is disgusting. I have ridden on a bus in Chicago. I have almost been stabbed. I think I did heroin, and I know I didn't end up in the right place. And I get it. We're living in Joe Biden's America, so we're
Yes.
all getting heroin, right?
Yes.
We're all
Right.
getting needles and
I've been
shit
waiting.
like that.
Crack. No,
No.
crack. We're all getting crack.
Sorry.
We're going back to crack. Okay.
Wait.
Yes.
We're gonna make the late
So-
'80s great again and going back to crack.
the crack
Make
at the
crack
Olympic
game great again?
So I did heroin for nothing?
You didn't even do the. It's not even on brand.
Thanks a
Not
lot,
Think of a
Obama.
time. Think of a time when Genesis was the top band in this country and you were high on crack. And tell me that wasn't when America peaked. Okay.
I was just gonna
Yeah,
say,
that's
I
right,
want
Pete.
that time again. When Genesis was the top band before Phil Collins left, I'm for it.
yes.
I will inject
And
and,
you were high on
snort
crack.
everything. Yes.
Yes.
I'm
Again,
fine.
and you were high on crack. Yeah. No, that's,
I'm okay with
that's
this.
the key part of that. Yeah.
I'm 1,000% on board with this.
We're gonna make at least half of that come true.
Make America Phil Collins again.
Yes.
So
On
so
crack.
Spike, do you have high hopes for the next election that's
That's
coming
a
up
good
the next
segue.
3 years?
It was. I wasn't sure where he was going.
Just like interject.
Speaking of high,
Don't give
so
him that.
yes. So no, to answer
It
your
was
question,
intentional. I 100% thought that through.
no, I believe it. It felt natural. I do. I don't. In 3 years, are we going to be in the White House? No. Are we going to have a libertarian governor or senator or congressman? Unlikely. But are we going to continue to double and triple the number of libertarians that are elected at the local and regional level each election? Yeah, because we've the proof of concept has already happened. We were able to get over half of the libertarians that were running for office elected in the April 2021 special election. We were able to get nearly 60% of the libertarians who ran in the 2021 general election elected, and we now have a pretty good strategy and roadmap for how to get libertarians elected in both uncontested and contested races. Again, at the local level, where I'm not talking Senate, Congress, and all that stuff. I'm talking about getting libertarians elected for like city council, school board, auditor, constable, mayors of relatively small or medium-sized towns. But these are substantial things that can get the foot in the door and start making changes now. County councils, things like that, even some state legislative races. And it seems like we're able to basically double or even triple from the last time around because they're able to keep tooling up more and more. And what I'm encouraging people to do is, instead of talking about spending another $5 million, I think we spent $2 million in our race, $2 or $3 million in our race for president, which was nothing compared to the $15 million that Gary Johnson and Bill Weld spent. If half of that had been spent on getting local libertarians elected, we could have gotten 5,000-6,000 libertarians elected. And so what I'm trying to tell people is, it's not to say that obviously we need to run people for president and vice president. We need to have our banner people who get out there and they're the ones spreading the message of liberty. And again, I haven't ruled out possibly running to be that person, whatever. What I'm saying is it's more important to get this foothold of elected libertarians, of libertarian activism happening at the local level, pulling in people who don't give a shit about the Libertarian Party and just want to affect positive change in their community, and really growing out from there. When we do that, I believe in the next 2-3 years, we're going to continue doing that, and we'll be able to look back 3 years from now and say, wow, look at how much better of a position that we're in now, both electorally, like the number of elected officials, but also in the number of accomplished goals. I think it's more important to put enough pressure on existing elected officials to get sanctuaries passed for cannabis, for the Second Amendment, for immigration, for the war on drugs, any of that stuff. And for COVID regime tyranny, by the way, the next thing that's coming is all of the things they just did for COVID. Give it about 3 to 5 years, and they're going to start doing that for climate change. We're going to have pauses, because we're not going to call it a lockdown ever again. We will pause to avert the climate catastrophe. That's
no
coming next
whatsoever for a month.
Yeah, no, that's coming next, and of course it's not going to affect the elected officials or the powerful or the celebrities. You're the bad guy, and so we need to already have sanctuaries against that in place. When we do that, then now instead of libertarianism being those same schmucks who show up every 4 years and go, "That's who's got to be the next president," they have a shot in hell. Now, Libertarians are going to be those people who are on the ground in my backyard, fighting against the bad things that I don't like and fighting for the good things I do like, and getting people elected locally so that they can even more effectively fight it. And that changes the narrative from they can't win to look how they're winning. I want to see them at the state level. I want to see them at the federal level. That's how that's going to happen.
I think that's probably the best route. And I'm an optimist, and because of that, I have hope that the next couple years, because I have little kids. I have 2 little girls, and I want the world not to fucking suck for them. And we talked about it on the show, and we talked about it at the last election too, that we talk about the libertarian candidates and viewpoints, but we're not banner wavers for the Libertarian Party. I like the Libertarian Party because a lot of it's common sense. So I also urge people out there, find the people with common sense along the party that you align with. If you think I am a Republican, I am a Democrat, find the more common sense person running in your local government and be like, that person is not an ass clown. I want to vote for that person, and don't vote out of fear, which is one of the bigger things. And if you also find a libertarian candidate, that I personally would love if they just ran for presidency or anything without a political moniker next to their name.
That would be ideal.
I would love that.
Yeah, absolutely. I want it to
just
be
look at them and be
on...
like, "Oh, you're just stupid." Okay.
Yes. Yeah, I just don't like you. I don't care what letter is next to your name. I think I want to, even though I'm a partisan. Oh, Tyler left. Even though I'm a partisan libertarian, but I also want to get things accomplished that doesn't rely on people becoming members of the Libertarian Party, because that's not really the effective thing. I want our ideas that make sense to, Rhodes, who is, a fan of the Libertarian Party, but isn't maybe 100% partisan, for Rico, who is obviously a rabid Democrat, for Tyler, who is a member of the Patriot Front. It doesn't matter. Like, whatever the background is, I really was hoping that Tyler would be here when I said that. But anyway,
he can still hear you.
Oh, okay, good.
Oh,
okay.
Yeah.
But so,
Fuck
no,
you, Tyler.
I want this to be something that you don't have to feel like, because I hear so many people are like, well, I don't want to be tied to a party. Good. I don't want to tie you to a party. Here's what we're working on. Do you want to work with us on this? And I think when we departisanize it, that's also part of the thing people hate. Because that's another thing. A lot of people, they hate Republican Party, Democrat Party. They hate the party politics. And then we go, yeah, we hate party politics too. We're the Libertarian Party. And it's like, well, but that just sounds like another party with extra steps. And it would be better to just, yes, we're the Libertarian Party, but more importantly, these are the things we're working on. We don't even care if you're a member. This is what we're working on. And that's my main focus, is to try to remove the partisanship and make it about good solutions that work for people.
I completely agree.
Even
I can't agree more. I would just, regardless of party, because I've had this last election in 2020, a young lady, she was running for governor in Idaho.
The Patriot Front
and
sounds amazing, and I want to be a part of it. I'm not positive what it is. I'm about to look it up, but it sounds patriotic.
I think you should look it up. I will tell you that
not white nationalist at all.
So yeah, it's definitely not white nationalist. So it was funny.
I don't believe you.
Said that they estimate that 1 in 5 members of the Patriot Front are active or retired military, and I said yes, and the other 4 are in the FBI.
Is it American? Wait! I haven't even pressed enter. I put Patriot Front. I'm not pressing enter because I do not want the government to come after me.
Watch list.
The Patriot Front is an American nationalist, white supremacist, and a neo-fascist hate group. That is what is coming up on my phone.
Yes,
they all are. Any of those, probably. By the way,
it is
a documentary
federal
about them on Paramount.
Honeypot.
Yes,
that is a gigantic. So any of these things, the Patriot Front, any of this nonsense is, hey, are you kind of an extremist? Come join this, so we can get all of your information and convince you to say that you're in favor of some violent thing, and then we can arrest you for it, like what they did with those people with the Gretchen Whitmer nonsense in Michigan. Again, Michigan. What the hell is in Michigan? But yeah, the Patriot Front is a great place.
Not
for
Hillary
people.
Clinton in 2016.
Yeah, the Patriot Front is a yes. They redeemed themselves there. They helped make America great again. But the Patriot Front is a great place for people who are kind of scared of black people to end up going to a federal prison for the rest of their lives. That's
like a good community outreach.
That's the vibe there.
Yeah, it's like the Boys and Girls Club of moderate neo-Nazis.
Yes, who go straight to prison because again, the leadership are all it's just a giant Fed group. So part of your membership is you have to glow in the dark, and I just think
I'll never get in.
Fuck. As I'm too close to my fucking desk light.
No, you're already in.
And that thing haven't even applied, and I already have a membership.
That thing behind you looks like some kind of white supremacist flag of some kind.
It will be. I just can't have the camera pan too far over that. I have a lot of Wolfenstein memorabilia.
Yes.
Yeah.
No. You can just say, "Listen, I'm just really big into Danzig." That's all. I'm not a Nazi.
I'm a big fan of id Developer.
Yes.
Oh well, we are coming to the end of our show, Spike. It has been fantastic having you on.
Absolutely.
That was a lot of fun.
Always, we wanted to have you on for a hot minute, and life catches up. And then finally, I was watching the news, and I was seeing a bunch of different libertarian things pop up, and I saw one of your things. I believe it was on Kennedy, and I was like,
"Yeah,
fuck." I need to reach back out and see if he's willing to fucking slum it on the show again. And
Now that I'm a
Come to the
big
hood.
deal, yeah.
yeah, now that you're a big deal. And so I reached out to your guy and I was like, hey, we'd love to have him on. And he was like, yeah, let him stop dying and he'll be on the show. And I was
Yeah,
like,
as soon as I stopped dying, I did. He was telling me like some of the different shows. While I'm dying, I would still get regular updates from Brian. And he's like, these people would like you on. And I'm like, this all sounds good. As soon as I'm not dying, I would be happy to come on there. Like once I can talk again, because I also couldn't talk for like the better part of 2 weeks. So then it became, well, I can still talk, but I'm kind of still coughing up blood. So after the blood stops, once we have like basically zero blood,
yes,
then,
I can, my friend.
then, like I really want to be at zero blood. I know that seems like I'm not compromising, but
Never
I
at
don't
zero
want
blood.
It's
I want
selfish
a
is what
zero.
it is.
It was very self. I was like, because some people say, well, maybe if it's just a trace amount of blood, but I was like, no, actually, I want zero blood, and that's
You know
kind
what?
of uncompromising.
This is why I vote Republican, okay? Because the Republicans, they'll be like
would allow a
2%
little
blood.
bit of blood.
But these goddamn libertarians,
No blood.
they refuse to come on
To
without
cough up
0%
blood.
blood. I'm sorry.
That's
You
where he
have to
draws
change
the
my-
line.
It's
You have to change my
unrealistic,
mind,
is what
Spike.
it is.
It
It's
is.
completely unrealistic.
It's
this
selfish.
idea that I could just not cough up blood ever is
Unreasonable.
I'm
it's
fucking
unreasonable,
trying not to.
it's selfish, and it's probably racist.
Well,
I didn't want to say it, but finally, the cat's out of the bag.
yeah, being a stark white man who's also really bald in 2022, I can guarantee that it is.
Yeah. It felt it. It felt
That's
it.
funny.
Because no matter what it is, it is. I've
felt it.
watched enough news. I'm aware. It's also
I felt
sexist.
pretty elitist. It feels elitist. It's classist at the very least. Because
At
frankly,
the
there's a lot
very
of
least,
people
yes.
with mesothelioma from working in shipyards, mills, and the auto industry.
You've seen the ads.
I've seen that commercial.
And yes, and they're entitled to compensation. But that doesn't
Exactly.
change the fact that they're still coughing up blood. And yet here I
Yeah.
am saying, I'm not going to do anything until I'm not coughing
Right.
up blood. And
You're-
like, hey,
you're
that
no-
sounds good. I'd
you're
like
no
to not cough up blood, but that
You're
doesn't
no
seem
better-
fair to you.
You're no better than 1-800 Cars for Kids right now, okay?
Yeah.
That's what you are.
It's,
That's what
it
you're on
sounds
par
a little
for.
white privilege to me. And
was
speaking of
very-
white privilege,
This got weird.
I can't wait
we
for
love
this
having you on the
segue.
show. It was fantastic.
It was a white privilege to have me on the show.
God, I missed that. Oh, fuck. On that note, ladies and gentlemen, we loved having you on. Please, if you
Yeah.
found any of this interesting or sparked a little thought in your mind while you were watching, go check out
Yes.
Spike's stuff. SpikeCohen.com.
Yes, SpikeCohen.com.
Muddy Water Podcast.
I threw in.
MuddyWatersMedia.com, SpikeCohen.com, or you can find me on all social media. I'm even on TikTok for the kids.
Awesome. Oh
I
my
did throw in, for those asking
Just
in the
for the
chat
kids.
earlier, I threw in the SpikeCohen.com/first for that initiative that you've got
Yes,
going on
thank
starting
you.
soon.
Thank you. Yes. Be the
No, we
first
will
to find
definitely
out.
keep a track. We will watch that closely. We're super excited. And to close it out, one last hot, quick question. Grant
Sure.
McCready really, really wanted to fucking know. This was
Okay.
his dying wish. What drug do you draw the line on? Like, what is your hard line?
What, for legalization or for personal use?
Let's just go with legalization, I
Yeah.
guess.
Okay. It's none of the government's business what you put in your body. And when they do try to make that prohibition, all it does is create a black market that empowers cartels, corrupts governments, and puts people in prison for what should be considered a health issue. So I don't draw a line on it. Personally, I'm a recovering drug addict that's been sober for 16 years. I don't do any drugs. I drink water and consume vegetables.
Ibuprofen,
That's-
hard line.
Ibuprofen, get out of America.
Wow.
Okay, get out of my country.
I love it. I'm going to go snort a long line of aspirin.
That's fine. Aspirin's fine.
Oh.
That's the one NSA I'm cool with. The rest, I'm not. If you can't smoke it out of Joe Biden's free crack pipe, get the hell out.
I like how
I'm waiting for it. I can't wait until it comes in the mail. And I
can't wait.
I can't wait. Oh,
I think you have to get it from the post office, actually.
Oh, I can get it from the dude next door, probably.
Yeah.
Spike, thanks again.
Spike's gonna put up a wall and he's gonna be like, the drugs are gonna stay on the other side of the wall. The drugs are gonna pay for the wall. All right, it's gonna be a big, beautiful drug wall. It's gonna be amazing.
It's a wall made out of
Actually,
those
the
crack
Mexico
pipes.
border is just.
Oh God! I'm so confused by this wall.
Oh, Spike, thank you. We love you.
Thank you.
Everyone else, please check out his stuff. He's hilarious. He's got good points. He makes you think. As we also try to do, check us out on all other social media platforms. We are across YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, I think we're on Rumbler and Getter and fucking.
Yeah,
What's
probably
that?
Grinder too.
What are these
Grindr. You can
things?
find us on Grinder.
Uber
Search for
Eats.
us on
Yeah.
Pornhub.
We're on Uber Eats.
You get a free
us on
podcast with
Postmates.
every Subway sandwich.
Find us on Postmates.
I love you guys. Peace.